Hey everyone, before we get to the challenge show today, I do want to let everyone know if they want to get into a draw for 20 DraftKings dollars, smash the like button for this video, leave your DraftKings handle in the comment section, tell me who you think the best rookie is going to be on the challenge. Total madness this season. This is a spoiler-free zone, so no spoilers, please. You can just guess whoever you want. It's a random draw. Also, subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast. If you do that, and leave a 5-star review, DraftKings handle, and something you enjoy about the Pat Mayo Experience, you're in a draw for 100 DraftKings dollars. And I do these draws weekly, so you have a chance to win a bunch of DraftKings bucks. Eventually, sports are going to come back, and you can use said DraftKings bucks. Unless you're big into like esports, apparently that's still going on. Also, the free Pat Mayo Experience Fantasy Challenge League is in the description of this video and podcast if you want to play, or you can just click on it, go to the site, and create a group for your friends. And that's what we're going to be talking about a bit today on the show, but primarily focusing on the rookies. Enjoy.
Entering the Pat Mayo Experience.
Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Pat Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience, closing down our challenge preseason shows because it starts April 1st, just like the Fantasy League that is free to join in the description of this video and podcast. If you want something to watch on TV, even if you've never seen the challenge, there is a free fantasy game so you can watch it and play in a fantasy league. Seems like a pretty good way to kill time these days. I'm not going to lie to you. But you can also catch up on the full season preview I did with Rob McIntyre and the best of the challenge. We ranked a lot of things, the top threes, craziest competitor, best eliminations, all that fun stuff you can find in the description of this video and podcast if you want to go back and catch up on some challenge talk. But today, there's a lot of new people on the show. So we need to go to the source, the guy who's breaking all of this down. And it is the person who I think puts the most time in to challenge coverage, at least these days. It's Allan Aguirre. What's going on, my man?
Hey there, just quarantining, posting a lot of memes, watching a lot of Simpsons, so that way I can come up with the tweet to get the satisfaction of getting 12 likes on it. That's where my life's at right now.
So it's funny. I've been reading your profiles and checking out your coverage. I'm going to include the link to Allan's coverage on Medium in the description of this video and podcast as well, if you want to go and check out all the expansive coverage he's been doing. You remind me of me. When I was 24, I started basically doing the same thing, but it wasn't on Medium. It was on Blogspot, and it was about football and not the challenge, but constant posts every single day, in-depth stuff, and that's what you're absolutely killing it right now. This is like your prime time.
Yeah, I started doing this like 3 years ago. I was writing about basketball and nobody was reading anything about it. And it was just getting me like really like depressed because I would put all this work into an article and then like 12 people would read it. And like 5 of them are my best friends. So then I just started writing about the challenge because I had been binge watching it a ton. And I did player previews then. And I've been doing them. I did them for Dirty 30, Invasion, Vendettas, Final Reckoning. Final Reckoning is when I like started doing them really well because I've been doing like infographics, like baseball cards on the players. And then over time I just got really burnt out. And this is the first season in a while that I've done these player previews like over and over daily again. But my following is a bit bigger now, so people are seeing it on social media more than they used to like a couple years ago. So overall, it's been really fun to write them. In all honesty, they are the easiest articles to write for me because they're just straight analysis. I do a lot of top tens, and because of that, like I have to get really creative with my top 10 lists.
Eventually there becomes a point where you're trying to like search for things to write about. And if it's not there to write about, sometimes it's just good to take a pass on it. But I mean, these are a lot of fun. I've really enjoyed reading them. And I actually found a lot of your content when I was, because I stay completely spoiler free throughout this entire thing. So even if I like dip my toe into the water of Challenge Reddit, I want to make sure that it's going to be a spoiler-free thing, but you're the only one who has like articles up there to read. I was like, this is great. I'm just going to scroll through all of these. So that's how I ended up finding all of your work. And then as it turns out, like you're making brackets for the Challengemania guys. How did that come about?
Back on Dirty 30, I wrote a profile on Derek, and Derek saw it, and he was like, "How did this guy like describe my entire life?" And he's 21 years old, or like I think I was maybe 20 still then, and like he doesn't even know me. And so once they started up the podcast, really early on, they're like, "Hey, can you come on the podcast? Like, we don't." Because that was when they really didn't have like many guests yet, and so they let me be like the stat guy, throwing some stats around, and yeah, it really helped me get a lot of exposure. Back then, my like Twitter at was at Fabrizi Fresh, and then Scott literally told me like, Hey man, you got like 200 Twitter followers here. Maybe go with something more official. I know you like this name, but maybe change it to something where people will follow you." And that's how I came up with at the Allan Aguirre.
I mean, that actually works out well. My producer, Paul, who is Paul Shaughnessy, who hosts, and if people are looking for challenge recap shows, Paul and I will have the challenge recap show like we have every year for like the past 5 years. So even if you're new to the challenge and want to check all of this out, you got someone, you got friends to come discuss it with afterwards. And we're no holds barred. We don't really care what happens. But you mentioned the Challengemania podcast. Derek and Scott both been guests on this show. Scott just comes on to talk like movies half the time, and I'll go on with him and talk about Tiger King. That entire thing. So we have a lot of common interest when it comes to that. But when you were doing the bracket, and you can go to the Challengemania page or even Scott's Twitter handle where you can still vote on this. I believe it's still going on right now. They're in the semis or the finals by the time this ends up coming out. But you filled out a men's bracket and a women's bracket, 64 players. How long did it take you to put that together?
It's pretty quick, honestly. I just got on Discord with my friend who is like my challenge stat guy, where he's like my friend who loves your show. He knows the challenge almost as well as I do. He doesn't have any desire to write about it. But when there's little details that I forget, I ask him like, "Hey, did this happen?" And he'll just like fill me in on that type of stuff. And we got on Discord and we just literally created the brackets like, all right, who's a 1 seed, who's a 2 seed, who's a 3 seed, and so on. And then once we got to like the 4 seed, we had to go backwards and be like, all right, now who is definitely a 16 seed? And then it's when you meet in the middle that it becomes difficult. It was fun creating the bracket because I'm a huge March Madness guy. I even wrote an article on like a March Madness bracket type thing once. And to me, I was like, can we put Georgia as a 3 seed? And he's like, why would you put Georgia as a 3 seed? I'm like, I just want to spice things up. I want to make people kind of like weirded out by some of these new players getting higher seeds. And I think I gave Theo a 4 seed, and someone was like, how in what world could Theo be ranked higher than Brad? And to me, it was like, well, in 2 seasons, I've maybe seen more from Theo than I saw in Brad in his like first 2 seasons ever. And if you just like base it on potential and stuff like that, then you rank someone like that really highly. And then people were like, "Oh, if it's elimination based, why is Banana ranked number one?" It's like Bananas is Duke. He's number one, and you want to watch him lose.
I mean, I don't want to watch Bananas lose. I know people on the internet. I know everyone hates Johnny Bananas, but I mean, without him, it's funny. Like I know he's been knocked out early the past few seasons, but like he is the show. He's like he has people who like him, he has people who hate his guts, but without him, the show's not the same.
Oh no, yeah, I I love watching Johnny Bananas lose late in the season. I want him to be on the show as long as possible. I mean, he creates stars by beating him. It's when he goes out early that it just it falls flat.
Well, I mean, you don't want to see him last too long if you root against him, because if he ends up making the finals, chances
Yeah,
are he's going to win.
yeah.
So when you guys broke it all down in the bracket, who did you have ended up? Because I'm going to do a breakdown of the female bracket and the male bracket at some point in the future. When we're all on quarantine life and there's no sports going on, I need something to do shows about. So that's probably 2 shows all in one. They'll be coming up in the future. But who, like, there's 2 sleepers in each bracket. I'm curious to see when I actually fill it out and go through with it. One for me in the male side was Frank from Vegas, and on the female side was just Cook. And I know Cook's going to have a low seed, but I could see her going to the Final Four for me.
Yeah, that was one of the interesting things where I think we forgot Cook when we were making the bracket itself. We actually did on all the seeding, and it was one of those moments where like, oh no, we forgot the girl that did 1 season and was super awesome. And we kind of had to put her in an 8 spot just because we forgot her and we dropped someone down and then someone got knocked off the list. Had I ranked Cook, I probably would have put her in like a 5 or 6 seed. Uh, I, it's tough because these come down to fan votes, and it's who the fans like remember as being awesome. And then you also have to remember they include it's the prime of their career. So, you know, if you look at Cara Maria's whole career, she's not as good as some of the other dominant competitors, but her prime is really awesome when she was like on Bloodlines, Dirty 30, Vendettas. That Cara Maria was like she was jacked. Uh, it's really tough sometimes with the challenge when you just try to compare two competitors head to head, and there's no visual of it.
Yeah, and you get into a situation where if this is like one-on-one elimination based, then you're going to get the people talking around. I mean, first of all, you mentioned this is a fan vote, so the most popular people are just going to win. And then you have, well, what if it was Hall Brawl between CT and Jordan? Well, CT would win, obviously. If it's almost anything else, Jordan's probably going to win, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, or I mean, a pole wrestle. I mean, the guy he doesn't have all the fingers on one hand, so only having one arm in a pole wrestle, that's a huge disadvantage. Yet Jordan has like the second best elimination record all time for males, so he's found ways around it. It's tough.
Who has the best elimination record as male? Is it Nelson?
So I like to do like when I talk about elimination records, I like to break it down as like who hit a certain milestone like the quickest. And Wes went 8-0, and to me that makes him the best all time. Even though his record is 14-6 now, the fact that at any point in time he was 8-0 makes him the best. Jordan went 7-1, and then Nelson went like I think 6-1-1. So those are like the three best in my opinion because eliminations are so 50-50. Just the concept of being 8-0 is so like insane.
It
Uh,
it is, but the problem with the elimination record, I mean, Wes is a lot. He piled up a lot of those on Fresh Meat when he was doing the Exiles with Kaycee, and just they knew how to do it and just kept beating
yeah,
everyone. And they had the advantage of having the light backpack as well, where everyone else
yeah.
didn't. So there's certain circumstances too. Like Nelson has a good elimination record, but I feel like his quality of opponent defeated is not high.
Yeah, he does have good elimination type wins where he's competing in like he did the race to the bell one. Like that's an impressive win in my opinion. He also had the elimination with Hunter where they're on each other's backs. That's a quality win. I mean, it's not like he has like bad elimination wins either. Like where Wes is, as you mentioned, he had all those advantages. Jordan has impressive wins too. He had the two sledgehammer ones. He had the one against Josh, which was crazy to watch last season. You know, when you look at those quality wins, it really throws everything out of whack. And then I mentioned this on Scott's podcast, but purges have also like inflated elimination stats in recent years, where being able to be purged keeps your elimination record clean.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. Yeah, that's true. Like even on Dirty 30 or Vendettas, like when you got sent to the exile house, like you could just be voted in there and never actually lose an elimination to be off the show, which sucks, which is really stupid, by the way.
Yeah, I don't like when the producers try to do too much. I think simplicity is where the show does well. And I really liked War of the Worlds 1 because the format was really well thought out. And I hated Final Reckoning because it kind of seemed like they were making things up on the fly.
It seemed like they were making things up on the fly to screw over Johnny Bananas and Tony.
You know, yes and no. I thought the final twist where they let all four teams compete in a redemption randomly, that was just kind of out of nowhere. Uh, but yeah, there are twists like that. I mean, on Dirty 30, I mentioned it in Corey's profile. Like production has pretty obviously tried to help Corey on some seasons, and it still hasn't worked out for him. Like they let him compete in a redemption where it was just two people, and he still couldn't get it.
Well, I mean, Corey's a tough go. As
Yeah,
we talked about before the show, great challenge fantasy player, not a great real life challenger. Like, it's funny. Like, if it was me and I was on these seasons, I mean, not that I would make the final on anything, but if I had my choice, like, he's almost a layup that you would want to bring to the finals with you, isn't he?
oh, definitely. I made that list of like people who could win, and Corey in the daily challenges, he's not a bad competitor. And you look at his elimination record, he's not that bad in like the little one-on-one type stuff because he is an athlete. It's just he doesn't have the cardio to run a final. He mentally can't do any puzzles. He can't eat. He's not a great swimmer. So why would like he has no chance at winning?
Yeah, and he has that, and I forget which one it was. It wasn't Bloodlines. Maybe it was the one that CT ended up winning, Invasion. I think he was in the finals of that one with him and Nelson. Like his wonky knee, like basically hold his knee problems prevent him from winning anything that lasts over like 100 meters.
Yeah, the funniest part about Rivals 3 was like he ruined Nicole and Camilla's chances of winning, and then at the end of the final, he says like, "Oh my god, I had the worst partner on each day." Like, no, dude, that was you. And when he finishes, he like, "Hey TJ, guess what? I didn't quit." I'm like, dude, weren't you all season talking about how you want to become the champion and you're here to win? Now you're just happy about not quitting?
Yeah, it's funny. I get why you would want to build him up because Corey rules. Like, he's great TV. Women love him and just want to hook up with him at every turn. That's his essential role on this show. He's a good interview because he's like, he and Nelson are both in that camp of that they're dumb, but they're like kind of aware that they're dumb, so they lean into it a little bit more, which is fascinating. And now Corey has like two baby mamas. He's on Teen Mom. Like, he's a very easy guy to build up because he's super likable as well, but just he can't get it done when it comes to competition.
No, Nelson and Corey are like the Rob Johnson and Doug Flutie of the challenge, where Nelson is Doug Flutie and like you watch him on the Bills and he's getting these wins and he's putting in all the work. But at the end of the day, MTV wants to put Corey on the billboard because he has that look and he has that charisma and he just has what Nelson doesn't have. But one of them is obviously the better player. And if Corey was putting out what Nelson is doing, they treat him like a golden god.
Yeah, that's actually true. And it's funny, like when I was constructing my fantasy team for this year, I think I have Corey on it, but that's for reasons that are beside the point because there's someone
Yeah.
else. Well, I told you, I need to have Melissa on my team because Melissa's my absolute favorite person. And while I don't spoil myself, I do know via Instagram that she's about to have birth to a baby. So she's like 36 weeks pregnant, 35 weeks pregnant. So there's a chance that she gets pregnant on this show, which means there's only one person that put that baby in her, and it's probably Corey. And if that's the case, we see it.
Teen Mom UK coming soon.
You got to branch out. That's the move these days. But I do want you to talk to me a little bit about some of these new people because I'm trying to figure out how to fill out the back end of my roster for the fantasy game. So the first person up, I have Kaycee. I think she's from Big Brother. Rob, who does all the scoring for this. And again, you can play in the fantasy league up till showtime start on April 1st. So I believe it's 8 p.m. I think it's head-to-head with Survivor for whatever reason. But till 8 p.m. Eastern Time, April 1st, that is Wednesday. Hit the description of this video or podcast. You can find the link to join my league, or you can just create your own league with friends on Fantasizer. But you have until then to submit your teams. Again, completely free to play. So she's $180 in this, and you have 6 people to pick, a budget of $1,000, like DraftKings style. She's the highest priced of all the new people, and she looks fucking ferocious. I really want to get her on my team, but I don't know if I can afford her. Would you be taking her?
From a competitive standpoint, I would take her because you know she's going to be there near the end. I mean, she was a college. I mean, no, I don't know if she played any college sport, but she's a professional women's football player, and she's in ridiculous shape. She's ripped like crazy. I met her in like Challengemania Las Vegas, and the girl has like no fat on her body. She's just a big thing of like lean muscle, and she will devour the competitors. And on Big Brother, she was really good at the mental competitions too. She dominated those. So she's strong and she's smart mentally, and she's not going to rock the boat. The problem with Kaycee is that she's just kind of boring. And if you're looking for someone to get you those entertainment points, that's not your person.
Yeah,
Uh,
like looking back at the new people over the past few seasons, like for example, although Georgia hasn't won anything, she scores fantasy points every single week. She's hooking up with Bear, she's crying, she's throwing a fit. Like Josh, also a very good fantasy scorer.
yeah, exactly. So I wouldn't take Casey personally. If she was like maybe $30 less, I would take her because she's gonna be there at the end. Just physically, I can't imagine people going for her, especially because she keeps chill vibes too. Uh, yeah, she's not rocking the boat.
So
I
with
wouldn't. I wouldn't take her though.
Yeah, like she's 180. Jenny, British Jenny, who lost to Tori last year in a hall brawl, is $10 more. At least she's been now that she has like a seat. I always like to target the people like on season 2. It's hard to take a rookie that you don't know much about, but like physically, she should be the most dominant person on the show. I still can't really figure out how she lost to Tori. Like it's like she didn't want to hurt her, so she ended up being the one who got run over because Tori didn't give a shit. She just tried to kill her and ended up winning because of it. I think in year 2, she's going to have more of a killer mentality. And I don't see what she's bad at is the thing. And maybe she will start hooking up. Who knows?
Yeah, that moment where she got like just knocked out by Tori, it was like a center who's like a person who's been like 6'10" their whole life and has always been the center and been 8 inches taller than everyone. It's the first time they go up against someone else who's 6'8", and they just don't know what to do.
I always attributed it to like where she's British and Tori's American, that maybe there's just like a football mentality in Americans that the UK people just don't get, where you put your head down and you run someone the fuck over.
Yeah, exactly.
So, or you just don't want to like hurt a friend, and Tori was like, no, I want to win $1 million. Let's go here. Next one up is Fessy. He's $140. I have no idea what to make of this guy.
I'm taking him. You got to take Fessy. In terms of like of all the rookies who have like he's the only one with the potential to win this season. He's 6'5", 240 pounds, runs a 4.78 40. He went to University of Tennessee Chattanooga, which is an FCS school, but he was a two-time FCS first team All American.
Hold on, is that the same school T.O. went to?
I think it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
well, good pedigree. Fessy and T.O. Challenge veterans.
Yeah. The guy should have made the NFL, but his last year, I think he tore his ACL joint, and then he had a pro day 2 years later where he was impressive, but no one picked him up. I'm not saying he would have been a good NFL player, but he at least would have been on a practice squad with his size, hands, and coordination.
What's what's he from? Like, what show is he from?
He's from Big Brother, and he's known as like one of the dumbest Big Brother players of all time.
Okay, so that's not a good thing. But like, do you just get Zach vibes from him? Because like rostering Zach's never good because he doesn't do anything. Although he has funny commentary now, but for years he would just like go to the final and lose.
Here's the thing about Fessy. He was dumb because he was gullible and nice. And in a game like Big Brother, you could trick a person and just vote them out. In the challenge, if you trick Fessy and he goes into elimination and it's a hall brawl, he's just wiping the other person out.
See, that makes a lot of sense. I can probably get behind that. So Fessy at 140 is not bad. Is he like, do you think he's the best of like all of the new guys by far?
Yeah, he's also book smart. That's what's also like important to know. So I called him dumb, but if you look into his academic records, the guy won like the commissioner's medal in college, was academic All-American, honor roll in high school, was his high school basketball league MVP. If you look on his Instagram, he's doing between the leg dunks on a 10-foot rim. There was a Big Brother endurance competition where you have to run up and down like an oiled up surface, and you have to carry a liquid from one jar to another. And this competition is supposed to take an hour. You put a 6'5", 240 pound guy on that surface, and they're gonna fall every time. Fessy never fell once. And he finished it in 15 minutes. Like this competition was supposed to take an hour. So not only is he huge, but he's coordinated as well. And when you think of like CT, where he does like those heights challenges, where you're like, how is this 260-pound guy like not falling on this little ledge? Fessy did that in Big Brother essentially. So he could rock the competition. I mean, I don't know if he could hold up in a final because he's so huge, but competition-wise, the guy should be a monster.
Yeah, and it does seem from the trailer of the season, one of the provisions is you have to win a challenge in order to get into the finals. You can't skirt away from an elimination this time. So taking guys that are good and female challengers that are good at the eliminations are probably going to be key. That's why I was thinking about someone like Kaycee or Jenny. It's just like, it's going to be so hard to beat them one-on-one in 80% of what the eliminations are that they're kind of a lock to go to the finals, if that's how it ends up holding up.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Next one is JS. He's $120. What about him?
I just watched his season of Survivor this week to write my article on him in a day or two. He actually has a lot of potential. I watched him in his challenges on Survivor, and he's wicked smart. He's great at puzzles. He's good with obstacle courses, great balance, and he has this fight in him where he will, he'll throw punches with someone who's 50 pounds heavier than him. The problem is he's about 5'9", 155 pounds.
I mean, a 5'9", 155 is like Wes's size.
Yeah, except Wes has like all that history on the show, so that's and Wes isn't even good at eliminations anymore because he is that size. So when you think of a game where they're gonna like throw you in because you're a rookie and you have that size, it's such a huge mountain to overcome. I mean, Kahada was a great competitor. Like in the daily challenges, he would kill all of them, but then he would get a hall brawl type elimination, and then there's nothing you could do there.
Is Jay the one who used to date Banana's girlfriend?
He did, and I think on X on the Beach, he tried to fight with Corey Brooks from Big Brother, who was supposed to be on 31 season 31 of the challenge, but was left as an alternate. And Corey had like 4 inches of height on him, but that actually like gave me a lot of respect for Jay because he was ready just to fight him, man. That guy was he is scrappy and he has potential. It just that size, they're gonna throw him in because of like preconceived notions of weakness.
All right, so he's $120, and the rest of the rookies are all 100. So I'm probably not going to spend $120, to be perfectly honest with you, unless like the entire season boils down to like Jay and Bananas just fighting the entire time. Which then he would probably provide a lot of value because anything, if you can somehow find the person that Bananas is fighting with, that person's going to score a lot of points. Is it Asaf? Asaf? We got him at $100.
I feel like you should take a bet with someone where like, hey, if you give me this person, I'll take Asaf on my roster because he's gonna be like the first or second guy out. Asaf is he has no shot. They had the Are You the One season of the challenge. I was like, Are You the One second chances a few years ago, and Asaf finished in last place in like every challenge.
That's
And this is like
that's
this
bad.
like yeah, if you're the worst person on a game full of Are You the One people that Devin is dominating, then you're probably not going to do well on the challenge. Like he's a sweet guy. He won Big Brother Israel celebrity version or whatever that is, and he's a dancer, but he's not going to do well on the challenge at all.
All right, we have Jennifer at $100. She's from Amazing Race. She looks real hot, but that's about the extent of what I know about her.
Yeah, the funniest thing with Jennifer is that I tried to do so much research about her, and there just really wasn't anything of like actual depth. Uh, the do you know the Eric Andre show at all?
The what?
The Eric Andre show.
No.
It's a show where the guy like he just tries to like bug his guests, and he had this segment where it was like hot girls of Instagram being interviewed, and this was like a few years ago, and she was one of the girls, and they put a song like "Oh, you got an STD" over her, and like you on that show, people don't always know what they're getting into, and she's just being made fun of the entire time, and all I can tell is that she has an agent who doesn't really know what she's looking for, and they got her on the challenge for cheap somehow, and she's not going to do well.
Okay, so not for her. So the last two, I think Rob told me this. These two were a couple. We got Swaggy C at $100. I like that he has the C next to his name. Like if he was just Swaggy, we would know who he was. Like there's no Swaggy T on the show. And then Bayleigh, who's apparently his girlfriend, she's $100. I was actually considering putting Bayleigh on my team. I wasn't going to, and then people were like, "Yeah, you should put Bayleigh on your team. Like she's better than you think she is." And if she has someone there like in an alliance to begin with, and maybe there's a few Big Brother people that can band together for $100, I can go up to the top and get all like the superstars that I want too. So I need someone at $100, and I think it might be Bayleigh for me.
Yeah, take Bayleigh, don't take Swaggy. She's 5'9",
Oh, good.
she was Miss Baylor or something like that, or like not Miss Baylor, Miss Missouri Teen USA. So she was like a legitimately really high ranking pageant girl on the national level. And I respect the pageant girls because people don't realize how much work it takes to be a pageant girl where you have to like get in shape. You have to, learn all these questions, memorize all these different things, all these little etiquette stuff. And it's a type of hard work and mental stamina that you need to go through, you know, 8 hours of modeling type stuff. It's not like, it's not just like posting a photo on Instagram.
Yeah, it's true. I'm trying to think of who the other pageant girl, like Brad's ex-wife, Tori.
Yeah.
She was a pageant, like pageant Kentucky, something like that, wasn't she?
Yeah. And there's a difference between being, yeah, but like an Instagram bikini girl and being an actual pageant girl. Cause that's like a cutthroat competition. And then Bayleigh, you look at her size, she's 5'9". She has a husband who she's going to be cutthroat to protect. And overall, I just physically, she's impressive and she has the mindset to win. Her husband, though, it's not going to work out that well for him. The upside for him is he's 6'4". So, when you're 6'4" and you played college basketball, there is this idea of athleticism. I mean, if you play a balls in, you would think the 6'4" basketball player would be pretty good at it. I don't know. I could see him being the first out because he is outspoken and he will get targeted early. If Swaggy goes out early, it'll be awesome for Bayleigh. It would remind me of Tori and Derek on Dirty 30.
I mean, that's a pretty good, pretty apt comparison because Derek looked like he should have been awesome at the challenge, and he was horrendous.
Yeah, he's a nice guy though.
Yeah, sure. That's great. I'm much happier that Tori's with Jordan now because I'm a big Jordan guy. So those are all the new people for the challenge so far this season. You released you capped it. You made the odds for it. So for the female side, you had Tori as the favorite, 2-1, Ashley plus 250, D plus 450, Jenny plus 475, Maddie 5-1, Kaycee 5-1, Kayla basically 9-1, Bayleigh 10-1, Jenna and Nani 12-1, Anissa 15-1, Melissa 25, Big T and Jennifer 30-1. It's hard to say Tori's a 2-1 favorite just because so many random people end up winning this, but I think the biggest shocker here is that Maddie is 5-1, and that is somehow worse than D. D, I know she won last season, but this does seem like an individual game. You put her in a final one-on-one or one versus one with almost anyone in this cast, I don't think she wins.
Oh, I think she's good at puzzles. She has good endurance. I mean, she just had that one time she got messed up at the pool. I mean, she killed it with Wes on World of the Worlds 1. And what's underrated is that Wes historically isn't great at the daily challenges, and they won the most together. So that's a team effort right there. Last season, she didn't really get a chance to shine, but Dee is in very good shape. She has really good core strength. She could lift what's important about the challenge isn't about how much you could lift, it's about whether you can lift your own amount of body weight. And that's what Dee can do. Uh Puzzles, I mean, that's really the big thing in recent seasons where if you're not good at puzzles, then you have no shot at winning. And Dee is awesome at puzzles. So I'm gonna take that because she kind of reminds me of Ashley, where they're these players who they don't amaze you physically, they don't jump out, but they just keep up enough, and then they win when it matters most.
See, to me, even though she doesn't play it off that way, just watching the season, see her interact with everyone, and even the confessionals, I think Ashley's sneakily the smartest person on the show.
Yeah, I mean, I consider them both really highly. It's when's the last time we saw a Nicole Z win a challenge or even a Cam? It's these people who physically we think should dominate, but they just don't for some reason. And Dee and Ashley are the two most recent female winners, and it's almost like a trend of sorts. And before that, the recent winner was Cara Maria, who it took her years to get over that hump. And before that, it was Sarah Rice. And Sarah Rice is another person who physically, she doesn't jump out to you, but she does all the little things right.
Well, if I'm thinking about it and it's a true individual season, and we'll see if that ends up sticking out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think about the individual winners because there becomes a thing in an individual competition where no one wants to face the really good people or the really big people. Duel 1, Jody wins, and she absolutely and she's the best physically on that season of everyone. Duel 2, Rachel wins. She was the best physically of everyone on that season. Free Agents, Laurel wins. Did she win? She wins, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's the most physically dominant on that season, I think. And Dirty 30, Camilla wins, but that was just really weird with how they did the finals. But, I mean, Camilla probably was the best competitor on that season. Sneaky underrated in all competition. She was in awesome shape that season, too. But it does seem like individual seasons, physical prowess does tend to lean a little bit more into it. So you say that Bayleigh's a bit bigger, in terms of height. And it sounds like she's far more coordinated than someone like Jenna, who has absolutely no chance of winning. So I'd have Bayleigh, Kaycee, Maddie, Jenny, Tori, Ashley, maybe as the strong competitors to actually win this thing.
Yeah, this season there's a lot of B plus players, I'd say, and that's an amazing thing where everyone is at the same area, and it's gonna make for a really good competition where someone might leave early, someone might, shock people and make it to the final. Uh, we could have some really weird outcomes this season.
Well, you did the odds for the guys too. You have Jordan as a -150 favorite. I mean, it's hard to argue against that with the how dominant that he's been. CT 5-1, West 6-1. Same with Bananas. Kyle 10, Fessy 10, Nelson 11, Rogan 14, Jay 22, Swaggy C 24. Same as Josh. Corey 25-1. No respect for my guy Bear at 25-1. He's like in killer shape now.
I just don't think Bear is a good player at all. I think he's been really lucky on his time on the challenge. Like, he's gotten really good circumstances, and the problem with Bear is that like physicality is his best skill.
Well,
And
his number one skill is being the most entertaining person on this show.
oh, definitely. I'm just talking about like in terms of the game. Um, it's just that's his best skill, and then we saw him get like destroyed by Kyle in something physical on War of the Worlds 2 once War of the Worlds 1 once it became individual. And so he just doesn't have any major strengths that'll have him like jump out. And I don't think Bear wants to win either. I don't think he actually cares about winning. He just cares about being on television and getting attention.
Yeah, I mean he's one of these people that's a great like, almost like Corey, really good fantasy player, not good at the real challenge.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think here, like Jordan at -1. Like I might not take. I've never not taken Jordan anytime he's been on a season, as he is my favorite person on the show, at least from a competition standpoint. So he's won the last 3 challenges that he's been on, but he never does back to back. I can see him just kind of not necessarily like quitting, but not giving a great effort this time around.
It's tough. I mean, I put him that highly because I look at the rest of the cast, and Bananas, CT, and West are just they're all in the decline of their career. You can't argue otherwise, in my opinion. And then everyone else after that is just deeply flawed. And so Jordan is like younger now than when like CT did the backpack. So it's just he's in his prime and he's an all-around player. It's hard to imagine anyone beating him. It seems like a Jody Duel situation.
It is, but you do have the one circumstance of, as we talked about off the top, is if there's a particular elimination that he gets thrown into, he could be at such a massive disadvantage that he just possibly could not win. Like there's a 20% chance that he gets thrown in, and
Yeah,
maybe the
completely agree.
maybe the producers just won't if they see that Jordan's up for it. It's like, oh, I guess we can't do. I mean, he was in the tug of war and he ended up winning that anyway. But the one, what is the one where you have the cross grip on it on the X?
The pole wrestle or the X something. They
Yeah,
change
like
the name every.
yeah, like if he gets into that, it doesn't matter who he faces, he's going to lose. Actually, he might beat Josh with one hand, but that's probably about it. I like Josh now. I hated Josh for so long, but he really endeared himself to me last season as it went along. Like now I find it funny when he cries, not like utterly pathetic. And he gives a real good effort in the challenges. He's not highly skilled, but he tries really hard, and that's all you can really ask for.
Yeah, when I was writing my article about him, I was like selling myself on Josh as I was writing it because the guy has displayed a lot of improvement from day one to now. So if like someone like Corey had improved like half as much as Josh has in like 1.5 seasons, then like Corey would be awesome as a competitor.
Like, yeah, there was one challenge last year. I forget what it was called, but it was one where they had like all the blocks, and they had to. There was a whole bunch of stuff like hanging over, and they had to pile up the blocks like as the team. It was usually Zach who was jumping up on it and grabbing stuff down, but then you had to return all of the blocks that you were standing on back to the base as you got all your stuff. And Josh was just kind of the grunt man on that one. Like he wasn't doing anything in particular. He was just like running back and forth, transferring all the blocks, which was the most thankless thing you can be doing. But he was just a very good team player when it came down to it. It was just like, yeah, this is what I'm going to do. This is how I'm going to help the team. I'm not going to argue with Zach about being the tall guy that tries to reach everything. Zach is a better athlete than me. We should let him do it. Like it's stuff like that. This is not probably the best format for him, but in a team season, I could see him eventually getting a win.
Yeah, when he stands next to someone, that's when you actually get impressed by him because you don't really think of him as this like athletic guy. But in that elimination with Jordan, when they sit next to each other, you're like, huh, Josh is like 6'2", 200 pounds. I just didn't ever consider it until he was literally standing right next to someone going into elimination.
What? How big do we think Jordan is? Like 5'8", 5'9"?
I'd say he's like 5'9", 175.
I mean,
170?
five. I mean, 5'9". I mean, I'm 5'8", 165. So yeah, he could definitely be. He might be like 5'9", 180 because he's like shredded.
Yeah. He's good.
Yeah. He's just such a good athlete is the thing. That's the really underrated part about Jordan. Like he was like an awesome wrestler. He was like a wakeboarder. Like all of the weird, not necessarily. It's like playing football is a certain skill that you have and a certain type of athlete. Playing basketball is a certain type of athlete. But he's just involved in all these like weird sports which take like odd agility, which are perfect for the challenge.
No, yeah, when I looked up like his stuff, he was supposed to be a pitcher at one point, and the Detroit Tigers were interested. And then he had to get Tommy John surgery, and so he quit pitching. And then he went to Central Oklahoma University, and he's like, "Oh, I'll join the football team." And he became the backup quarterback for the Central Oklahoma football team.
Yeah, like some guys are just natural. It's like Russell Wilson. Some guys are just natural athletes. Just here's the ball, you figure it out, and they do it within like 10 seconds, and they're the best at it. Anyway, Allan, tell everyone where they can find you and what you might have coming up once the season starts.
So you could follow me on Twitter at the Allan Aguirre. You could probably message me because I don't have a lot going on in quarantine. Uh, you could follow me on Medium. There's a link with like the URL, but if you just Google Medium Allan Aguirre, you'll find me. You can find my stuff on Reddit as RIP Grantland is my username. Then other than that, stuff I have coming up, I still have more player previews for season 35. I have to write Jordan, Tori, Bananas, Big T, Kaycee, and Jay still, I think. I have to get those in before April 1st. I have a top 35 women of the challenge list coming up. I have a top 10 failed faces of the challenge list coming up too. And then I have my episode 1 recap I'm working on right now.
You say top 10 failed faces of the challenge?
Yeah, people who MTV wanted to be the face of the show.
Spoiler alert, Corey is number 1.
I think he's on the list. He's definitely one of them.
Yeah, so I look forward to reading that. So again, I'll provide the link to Allan's Medium page in the description of this video or podcast if you want to go check that out. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate it. I'm Pat Mayo. You can follow me at the PME, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Subscribe to the Pat Mayo Experience audio podcast if you prefer that over the video, or just download both. You can do that as well. Smash the like button to everything. Leave a review. You can do that as well. It would be highly appreciated. And of course, the fantasy game starts April 1st, 8 p.m. Eastern Time on MTV, and the fantasy game is on Fantasizer. You can join the Pat Mayo Experience League in the description of this video or podcast. I highly recommend that you do it. And then Paul and I will be back every, I want to say Thursday or Friday, breaking down the latest episode of the challenge. So even if you're brand new, like I said, you got friends to talk about it, at least friends to watch talk about it. Then you can like tweet at us and do whatever. Anyway, I'm Pat Mayo. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.
Mayo Experience! Experience!